Hey, and welcome to another Main Contain Fishing podcast on the sister network of the Paddle and Fin Network. And we're here tonight from Southeast Georgia. We've got a guest coming from Upstate, South Carolina with us tonight, Mr. Travis Foulks. We're going to introduce him in a minute, but we survived Helene, and man, what a dang storm it was. So we're going to kick this thing off, get everything going. For everybody listening, make sure you stay tuned as we bring Mr. Travis Foulks onto the Main Contain Fishing podcast. So grab your drinks, sit back, and relax. A great show. Hey, and welcome to the Main Contain Fishing podcast, Travis. Thank you for joining us tonight, man.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and to get to talk SC Yak and fishing with you tonight, Daniel.
Hey, man, we are going to have a great show. We've got some new news out of Upstate, South Carolina with Travis. Travis has been busting tail, trying to get a new series going up there for the Upstate guys in South Carolina and on Lake Hartwell and some other lakes up there. I know that he fishes Hartwell a lot. If you don't know, go over to his YouTube channel and look at some of the good old spotted bass that are up in Lake Hartwell, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of them, but don't let it fool you. We've got big largemouth too, and I think I figured out where they're at right now post Helene. And anybody in the Upstate impacted by that, heart and prayers that go out to you for that. I know it's tough, and if y'all need anything in your local, hit me up for showers, charging, anything like that. So I got your back while I can.
Great news. Us. We were just talking in the green room about how the kayak fishing industry has come together. I know there are several tournaments going on Tourney X right now for to help the people out with the floods and everything that they lost up there. So if you're a kayak fisherman, look on Tourney X and get into that pool, and all the entry fees are donated back to the people up there that are affected. So man. So hey, we're gonna let you kick it off here, Travis. We're gonna kind of let you introduce yourself and let everybody know the world of the kayak world and paddle and fin family of who you are, where you're from, and how in the heck did you get into kayak fishing?
So I'll tell you guys that, and I'll try not to get too deep into it because it is something emotional for me. We moved to South Carolina following the money, as we were talking about in the green room. I've lived quite a few places over the years, primarily born in Knoxville. But when we moved up here, late 30s, having trouble making friends, around 35, we didn't really go out to bars and clubs anymore. We didn't really participate in any social activities that were new. We kind of stayed within ourselves. I found myself wanting something to do, some kind of way to have a hobby, and I ended up fishing from the bank, just trying to catch bluegill. And I remember the first time I did was about 5 years ago, and I actually caught something. You want to talk about excited? Like I didn't grow up fishing. I didn't fish with my dad as a kid a lot. We went to the lake on rare occasions. So when I finally got around to wanting to fish and getting into it, I caught a bluegill, and I kid you not, I drove home, woke up the wife, and I was like, hey, come fish with me. I know where they're at right now, and proceeded not to catch anything else. Over time, I ended up seeing, a couple of months, goes by, and I see this guy on the water in a kayak, and I'm like, that's a great way to get out there to find the fish and really get into the sport. And at the time, I was close to 300 pounds. I'm hovering around that 215 range now, but that's something else that kayaking did for me. Just getting out, exercising, moving around, wanting to be able to stand up in a kayak. That got me motivated to change my life and get there. And then over time, I found that, some of the things I was dealing with, I started making friends and helping with things like depression, and things I had problems making friends went away. Before I knew it, I had a YouTube channel that went from nobody watching to having consistent viewers. we're not at the top of the feeds, but we're doing good, right? People are showing up, they watch, they comment, they seem to enjoy the activity. And I can definitely tell you that the entire channel, it's a chronicle from, hey, how did we start fishing from the bank to how are we now to the point of competitive fishing, fishing in the state championship on Lake Hartwell on November 2nd, really elevating the game. We've got there in 5 years, and my YouTube channel, you can go and watch that from somebody who knew absolutely nothing to somebody who's competing with some of the best in the Carolinas. So that's me. That's how I got into it. And kayak bass fishing is more than just a sport. It's changed my life. It's given me my best friends. It's given me purpose and direction that I was lacking as a stranger to South Carolina, and it really made this place my home. So, not to get too Diane Sawyer on you, but that's the story there, man. It's life changing.
Well, as we all grew up as young kids and young adults and on into adulthood, we had to start somewhere, right? With a rod in our hand or a cane pole or anything like that. So, I grew up fishing creeks and rivers here in Southeast Georgia with my grandfather and my father and my uncles. Golly, I can't tell you how many times I beat the creek bank with my grandfather 10 miles in and 10 miles out, just he would walk for miles until he found a place where the fish were biting, and we would sit down on the bank and just fish for creek brim. If it was bluegill, red breast, warmouth, or stump knockers, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, it's a place to start, and like me, I ended up getting into the bass fishing because my dad and my uncles were all bass fishermen. And now I'm at that level where, you starting to compete and you're, you're doing things. I come from the bass boat world, as a lot of people know. I come from the bass boat world into the kayak world. And I think as a whole, and you can tell me this, Travis, because I think the kayak world is a lot close knit than the bass boat world.
It probably is, at least in appearance. I would say the relationships and bonds you feel, they're probably about on the same level. Like, you get to know people, you get close to them, but there's so many bass boaters out there. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. Whereas the kayak community, we're pretty tight knit. I see a lot of the guys joining the SC Yak Club or already in other clubs that I fish in, SC Bass, UKA. We all kind of know each other. We know what we're about. And you're right, we are tight knit. And it definitely, to me, it has the feel and the appearance of we're more tight knit than a boater community just because there's less of us and we have to know each other.
Right. Yeah. So I held a tournament with our club up on Clarksville this past year, and we had some South Carolina guys come down, JC Sanchez and some other guys from South Carolina, and me and JC got to talk a little bit at the award ceremony. And I didn't know he was actually the the tournament director of SC Bass Nation.
Right.
So we kind of talked, and I'm just trying to kind of build a relationship with your bordering states, and that's the reason why I reached out to you to bring you on the podcast. Is you're starting a new series up there in Upstate, and that's what we're going to discuss here in a minute. Is what lakes are y'all going to fish? What you got going on? How was it going from 0 to 100 in about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
with trying to reach out to sponsorships and getting things lined up for the rolling year and things like that. But as far as the kayak industry as a whole, you could probably reach out to anybody in any state that kayak fishes and say, hey, I'm coming to that state for vacation, or, I'm passing through there to go fish another, but I want to stop there for a day to fish. And you could reach out to other kayak anglers and say, yeah, they're I don't feel like they would hold their secret spots out, but, they would lead you in the right direction of how to catch fish in that state compared to the boat world.
Oh yeah, moderately so. We all have our little secrets and tips that just stay there. And I'm a loyal guy, so if somebody tells me, hey, this color works, I may throw somebody a bone on the shade they're looking for, but we all have our secrets we keep. But yeah, we all want each other to do well. One thing, not to harp back to the YouTube channel, but I don't really hold a lot back there unless it's something somebody shared with me. I want to share what's working for me. If I've got a video where I'm catching 4-pound bass, I want to tell everybody everything that's working, where I'm at. I'll show you the waypoint if I get the chance. If somebody wins a tournament and they tell me, hey, your advice got me there, I would be the happiest angler at the event, even if I struck out,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just had a guy message me on Instagram yesterday, and he lives in Florida. He's coming up to Tifton, Georgia, which is a lot further south than I am. It's about a 2-hour ride here. But he said, hey, man, I'm coming up to Tifton. I'm not familiar with that area to fish. So I kind of gave him some tips and tricks that I've been using here and what the fish are biting right now compared to, 2 months from now. So you kind of hold yourself pride if that person comes back and say, hey, man, I caught my personal best with the information you gave me.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, hey, boom. You're like, heck yeah, man. And not only that, it allows people to network with you.
Yes.
As fishermen, because now they got a friend coming up the following month. They say, well, get a hold of this guy. He knows what he's talking about. Right.
Right.
So, So let's go to Lake Hartwell, for instance. A northern part of Georgia and South Carolina. The lake is part of the Savannah River chain lakes, and you fish it a whole lot. I've only fished it one time in my life. That's with the Brian Latimer tournament like 2 years ago. And it was the coldest damn day there was that I've ever fished in my life. It was 19 degrees. And I caught spotted bass, but when you're fishing clear water lakes like that, kind of give me your aspect on fishing clear water lakes and deep lakes. That's one of probably the deepest lakes on the Savannah River chain.
Yeah,
it is Hartwell. So kind of give me your aspect of fishing Hartwell.
Well, Hartwell, as you know, it is clear in some areas. Right now, it's all kind of staying in muddy anywhere you go.
Right.
But there's a lot of it where it's clear, and that can intimidate people. We're not talking Kiwi or Jocassee clear, but we're talking clear enough to where people might look at it and say, hey, this color I don't want to throw out there. Maybe I shouldn't. It's not really the right approach for it. You can fish clear water just like you would slightly stained water. If you're up by the Lawrence Bridge area, which is somewhere I personally like to go a lot, it can be rather clear up there, and that doesn't mean you have to shy away from what you normally do fishing. It means you should probably try and just be a little bit more quiet and aware of your situation, a little thinner on the line. Make sure you've got that 8-pound samurai on there. Those bass, those spotted bass, they're going to chew what you throw out there, and there's a lot of those spotted bass out there. So when you're up in those clear areas, just stick to those natural colors, and you're going to catch fish. Shaky head, right? Kayak anglers. We can go up there with a watermelon candy and you can have a field day. You get down to the stained areas on Hartwell and, just make sure you're fishing up close to laydowns. Brown Road Boat Ramp's one of those examples. It's notorious for just being stained, if not muddy. You can take out Midnight Ember from 4-7 lures and that'll catch them out there like a finesse worm. But if we're really breaking down Hartwell and what it is, it's either running points, hitting shallow laydowns, or you're hitting brush 20 to 25 foot offshore most of the year. We have a lot of bridges. When it gets winter, it's real easy to get out there with like a blade and just, jig it around, especially with forward-facing sonar now. You'll find out if they're pushed up against the columns or not. But if you're fishing Hartwell and you want to have success any day of the week, running points is what you want to do because there's so many of them. I'll say on a nice windy day, you could go to like Marianne Branch Access, go south a little bit after fishing the shoals in the morning, get that early morning topwater, because the Hartwell topwater, it'll run into November easily. Whether you're talking plopper or like a pencil walking bait, you can hit those Hartwell shoals easily into late November, unless we have some weird cattywampus weather, which based on where we're at, we very well could. But Marianne Branch is one of those. There's so many points in there. You could spend all day in there, not hit all the points, but hit so many fish that you get bored and want to go home.
Yeah. When I was fishing that tournament with Brian Latimer, we stayed at the state park up. Golly, I don't even know what part of the lake it was. I can't really tell you, but I know we were probably like maybe 10, 20 minutes from Greenwood boat where they hold a big boat series at and everything. But yeah, I was fishing points with a lipless crankbait shad color.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I caught most of my fish on. You talking about a shaky head? I caught one fish on a shaky head in 75 foot of water.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I really think that was made by mistake because I was actually going to I was on fishing Carolina side and I was making my track across. I fished a little bridge and was on to the Georgia side where a boat marina was. Right. I said, well, I'll go flip boat docks with this shaky head because it warmed up the boat docks warmed up the water quicker than anything else. And so I found 175 foot of water right there off the tip of the boat dock, and I saw some marks down there. I was like, well, if it's catfish that deep, I said, well, if I catch one, I catch one. But the first throw I threw over there, 75 foot of water, it made a little tick, and I brought it up. I was like, dang, that's a spot, man. I said, holy cow, 75 foot of water. And wow. That was the only fish I caught, and there was plenty down there, but that's the only one that bit. I guess he was the hungriest that day. But yeah, Hartwell is a different beast for me. Just because of me not fishing it a whole lot compared to Clark's Hill is 2 hours from me. I fished Clark's Hill a lot when I was younger and on into my, I guess, young adult days with my uncles and all that. Right. But yeah, I need to come up to fish with y'all some more in the Hartwell.
Absolutely. We're actually going to go there twice next year with SC Yak. Right. I've got 2 times a year. I know that lake is absolutely phenomenal. And I think guys will go out there, they'll get the largemouth, and they'll get the fattest spots that we can find.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as like Hartwell goes right now, if anybody's wanting to go out there and fish it, just take you something with vibration, chatterbait, take you a spinnerbait, a J3 nice dark one, because it is pretty much stained and muddy everywhere, no matter where you go. But a vibe shake from Picasso, a circuit board on a shaky head is deadly right now. I know for sure. So,
right. Yeah. It's the Seneca River that flows into that lake, right?
Yeah. You've got the Seneca River flowing in, and you've also got Kiwi flowing in as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's, Brown Road, that side, it's always kind of muddy, kind of stained. But then as you work toward those river sides, right, starts to really clear up. And I mean, if you work toward the Kiwi Dam, you can find Kiwi clear water up there, as wild as it is. And we're talking, you'll see down 20 foot in some areas. Whereas you go up 18 mile to the back of that creek, man, you're not seeing anything below half an inch. So people always talk about the clarity of Hartwell, but it is diverse too. The only thing we really lack a lot of is grass. If that lake would go down and they would leave it down till about end of April, we would have a completely different fishery with grass budding everywhere.
Right.
But other than that, other than minimal grass, Hartwell has it.
Right. Yeah, it was a different beast for me. And I tell you, just because I fish a lot of rivers down here in South Georgia, Blackwater rivers, Blackwater sloughs, what we call them. And so it's when you put a country redneck boy up in the on them big lakes, it's kind of like a new beast all itself. You're like, holy cow, I'm lost. Where's my river water at?
And I'm just getting into the rivers. I've got a buddy named Doug King who's been helping me out. We've gone once, and I flipped a kayak, but I did catch a decent amount of fish. I got hot in the morning, and it's a different experience. It's really fun though. I feel like if I could fish more rivers more frequently, like learn the spots, it's probably where I'd spend most of my time at if I'm being honest with you. So
Yeah, Doug's a good guy. He actually fished a tournament on Clark's Hill with us, and that's where I met him at for the first time. But we've spoke across Facebook and things like that. But yeah, he's a hammer. He says he catches dinks all the time, but I think he's lying to us.
yeah. He's modest. He shows good fish on his Facebook, and he shows good food. Like that guy posts so many good food pics on Facebook that makes me hungry.
Barry. Who else? Barry. Golly, what's Barry's last name up there?
Davis.
Davis. Yeah. Used to work at Darlington Raceway. I think he finally retired, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a retired firefighter as well. Barry's actually a great guy. He was there when I floated the kayak and flipped it over.
Yeah.
But yeah, he stays busy. He fishes those national trails a lot, so we don't cross paths a lot. But every now and again, we'll run across each other.
Right. So Travis, let me ask you this question: You fished with is it UKA?
Yep. It's Upstate Kayak Anglers ran by Cam Young. Yeah. Great club, and it's about the most amateur friendly thing in South Carolina you can get into, man.
So kind of tell us about them before we get into your beast, and kind of spread the love for them.
Okay. So yeah, as I said, Cam Young's a great guy. He's a family man. He takes care of his first and foremost, which is what you want in this community. It's what you want in a TD.
Yeah.
But the club, when I say it's amateur friendly, they'll accept most kayaks, bass raiders, little pond hoppers, things like that,
right,
that traditionally you wouldn't fish in a tournament. They encourage you to come fish with them on these smaller lakes. Most of them are motor restricted: Bowen, Blaylock, Cunningham, Robinson, Cooley. But these lakes have massive fish in them, man. I never messed with them before fishing with UKA. Bennett Null recommended the club to me as a way to break the ice and get into fishing. But these clubs they go to, I was like, we ain't going to catch anything good in there. There's a reason we're 8 fish or a 3 fish, 8-inch minimum. Oh, no, man. you mentioned JC Sanchez. His brother, Johnny Sanchez, is an absolute up-and-coming hammer. I think next year, if there's a name to watch for in the Carolinas, it's Johnny Sanchez. This dude is catching fish that are big consistently. We're talking like a 60-inch almost limit in a 3 fish, 8-inch limit club. But great guys, great resource sharing. My favorite part of UKA is the meetups. At the end of the day, we're all at one ramp, right? Again, it's the smaller lakes. So instead of having an app and maybe going to the meetup, everybody's there and everybody's talking. Everybody's sharing. Everybody wants everybody to be better. And it's an environment that you just can't replicate. It's very grassroots feeling, very powerful. And Cam's built a hell of a club over there. They're going to go as long as Cam wants to go with it.
Right. Well, that's good to hear that it's they invite all kind of, not even, I wouldn't say traditional kayaks, but pond hoppers and bass raiders, stuff like that. So you kind of have to, as a grassroots club, you kind of have to introduce that stuff for people, because that might be the only thing they have to fish out of. And you really don't want to limit yourself as a club to say, hey, you got to have a kayak only, But it's I really think that grassroots clubs, and I had the opportunity to be on Randy Newton's podcast, Final Cast, talking about SCG KBF and kind of showcasing the club that I started, kind of bringing it up and kind of where I'm at now. But you're in the same boat with yours too, Travis, that you're starting up. And I kind of want to hit on that is your new Upstate South Carolina. You got some great lakes to fish up there.
Oh yeah.
And and way you can pull from the Georgia, South Carolina, and maybe lower North Carolina bid. Is that would that be safe to say that that's what area you're kind of trying to pull from?
I am. This season particularly, I'm staying east of Murray. I really want to get Santee Cooper into the mix, but
Right.
here's the thing with some of the other clubs in the area. They already go there, and Santee's hit a lot. I want to fish lakes that when guys fish it, they're regional to the upstate or western North Carolina, bless them right now, northern Georgia, and lakes where they can drive to. They can fish the same day, go home, and not feel like they've been hit by a freight train. A lot of these guys that fish in the Carolinas, they are legit. And I know Georgia's the same way. These are serious competitors. Michael Duran is a guy who will fish 2 or 3 tournaments in a row if he gets the opportunity, and he'll drive across the state if it's optional. But what I'd like to do is for guys like him who live in this area to say, hey, I've got somewhere local to be. I can be at any of these lakes within an hour and a half to 2 hours, and most of them within an hour. Definitely local. Kiwi, Hartwell, Jocassee, Murray, like I said, Russell, Clark's Hill, like you mentioned, it's a fantastic lake. Those are the primary ones. Greenwood, I'm a big fan of Greenwood. There's some spots on Greenwood that I can't wait to go back and fish every time I go. But we've got so many great lakes up here, as you mentioned. As somebody who's moved around to a lot of states, visit a lot of places, California, Texas, Alabama, born and raised in Tennessee, the cluster of amazing lakes we have in South Carolina is second to none. Jocassee being crystal clear, and trout that are 24-inch or longer if you can get down to them, massive smallmouth. We've got Kiwi, which is where the Duke power plant is, also crystal clear. We're going to visit all these clubs and all these lakes in the upstate and keep guys close to home.
Yeah.
I like to talk, Daniel. I'm sorry. I should have told you that.
Nah, man. Hey, it is your time to shine.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I really think a lot of people are missing out fishing that upstate type deal. Even in the state of Georgia, you're looking at Chattooga and some smaller reservoirs, the Hollis Reservoir, Altoona, Lake Altoona in Cartersville area. That lake kind of did just did some trickery with their fish in that lake. So it's kind of turning around now. But like you said, when you're getting bigger, big fish territory like Santee Cooper and Lake Moultrie down there, and everybody wants to go down there and catch them largemouth behemoths out of a swamp lake. That's what and it just gets beat up every day, every weekend. And when you're trying to compete and you want people to catch fish, you kind of have to look at different places as clubs to say, hey, let's try this area out, or let's try this lake out, rather than traveling 3 hours down south to fish. And with your turnouts, as far as club turnouts, so kind of give us an average club turnout when you were fishing with UKA and things like that.
I would say the years I fished with them, last year they were probably somewhere around that 15 to 20, and this year I think they're probably somewhere 15 to 25, probably closer to the 20 to 25 mark. They get really good turnout for these lakes that don't seem very big, but again, it works because it's a friendly club and everybody's willing to talk to each other and share. Hey, I'm catching fish, you're not? Well, come over and get beside me type of club.
Right.
But their turnout is really good. And if I can match any type of turnout they have, we're going to have some really good payouts. So,
yeah. So, we've been going for about 30 minutes, Travis. It don't even sound like 30 minutes, does it? So
no, it feels like it's going fast.
Yeah. So we're going to kick to a commercial break right quick from Z Pro batteries. If you don't know anything about Z Pro batteries, folks, they have a hell of a warranty on them. And I can vouch for this. My 30 amp that's sitting in my kayak charged cell phone after cell phone after cell phone during this storm. So y'all just kick back, enjoy this commercial from Z Pro, and we'll be right back with you.
Zetro lithium right here. So, as you see, they make every single battery you could possibly need for your outdoor adventure, from a 12 volt 10 amp hour to a 12 volt 50 amp hour, all the way up to a 36 volt 55 amp hour battery. They have everything to cover you. I love these batteries because I know when I get on the water, I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about, it running out of juice. It keeps me going all day long. And we're on the water for at least 10 to 12 hours a day, pre-fishing, 8 hours a day during tournaments. And I know I've got the power to get me from point A, point B, spot lock. My electronics are good, and everything is going to be solid throughout the day.
Hey, and welcome back. So, hey, man, we've been going about a half hour now. Like to welcome everybody back to the Main Contain Fishing Podcast and the Paddle and Fin Network. We're going to bring Travis back on, and we're going to let him talk about his new adventure that he has. If y'all don't follow him on Facebook, go over to Travis Foulks. Follow him on Travis Does Kayak Fishing. Yeah, he's got some exciting news that we're gonna bring him back on and let him talk about coming up to the Upstate Carolina side. Even though we them Gamecocks, we don't like them Gamecocks too much, or them Clemson Tigers. So yeah, we'll let's get him back on the show. Welcome back, Travis.
Hey, thanks. And I don't like them either. Go Vols. Knoxville native.
Well, us dogs don't like them balls either.
You guys really don't like Alabama right now. What a game, man.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick before we kick off into your new adventure.
Right.
Man, what an SEC game of the week, right?
Yeah. I was watching the game and I was slack-jawed, man, watching Alabama come out of the gate hot and just Georgia not being Georgia. Well, it's been kind of slow start for Georgia all year, and I think somebody made him pay for it in this case. But once Georgia got on, I was dozing out, and I happened to wake up like midway through the fourth quarter. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, so
yeah,
where were me and my wife at? We were out somewhere. And we're like, holy cow, Georgia's getting their ass spanked. So we decided to come home. And on the way home, I told her, hey, just check the score. And when she got on the telephone to check the score, I was like, holy crap, we got to find it on the radio. Well, of course, the radio station was out. I'm like, crap. So we ended up listening to bringing the radio cast onto the cell phone, driving home, and daggum if he didn't throw an interception. Beck threw an interception in the last 60 seconds in the end zone, and Alabama was able to seal the deal. But I had to give it up. I had to give it for the Alabama team and Milrose. Milrose is one hell of a quarterback, and he's an athlete. He's an athlete for sure. But
and that receiver with that spin move at the end, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like he's only 17, but that was
yeah, that's not a 17-year-old move in the SEC game of the week. But yeah, man. But yeah, we'll have to talk. We might have to discuss a little bit of Tennessee and Georgia football when we play each other. Yeah. But I want to kind of introduce everybody to your new kayak series in Upstate South Carolina. So tell us what it's all about, man. Let's have at it.
Yeah, I'm going to be real honest. It's about freedom. As somebody who fishes these clubs and is a competitor himself, I know what it is to want to fish, multiple motors, right? Have an XI3 and a taquito on the back and be restricted by a club not letting you, or not to have defined expectations for what's happening with like weather policy. Why is that never defined? What should we expect? I want all that to be there in plain. I want anglers to choose their own ramps. I want to fish the best lakes we have in the Upstate, and I want to offer cool prizes. Like, just to toot my own horn, for Big Bass of the Year, which is, one of our side pots, I've got this guy here ready to go, ready for engraving. I got to add some sponsor names and the size of the bass at the bottom. the SC Yak. We've got some great Big Bass of the Year sponsors. Skinner and Company, they've come through. They provided financial support for 7 Lures. A to Z Tax Services, some great sponsors. A Squared Lures. They've all pitched in. Right now, we're about $460 cash pot in year 1 for AOI and about $430 for Big Bass, which is great for year 1 in my opinion, because
Certainly.
that's wild. And our Angler of the Year, this has got to be like, it unlocks the child in me, right? Angler of the Year will get this, but because that goat is so shiny, I know that may not be something people want. I've got another set of plates on the way too. So whoever wins the Angler of the Year belt, they'll get to slap it over and embrace that childhood Hell in a Cell match. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be pretty affordable, $40. I am including tourney XP and registration, taxes, things like that, because I want low overhead, right? Nobody wants to be doing a bunch of paperwork. We just want to come fish. So when you sign up, you can do the big bass for $5, the small bass, and I'm doing something cool with that. Big bass and small bass are always an afterthought, Daniel. I've never liked it. Just because if you win small bass, hey, you get the little trophy, you get the cash. Doesn't count to anything. But what if I told you, if you were really struggling for fish or points, let's say you had a nice limit and you had big bass already, not only would you have the 100 points if you came in first place for an event, you would have an additional 5 for big bass and 2 for small bass. So big bass and small bass contribute to AOI points in winning the belt.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm hoping everybody
yeah.
wants to get in on the small bass. Everybody wants to get on the big bass and get those AOI points. Don't skip out, because you never know when that stupid little Ned rig is going to catch that 22.5-inch bass that wins you big bass on the day. I'm excited, man. We've got, these are mock-ups of what the plaques will look like. They'll be a little more defined, a little clearer, a little more crisp with marbling plaques on the background. We've got great sponsor and Watt Cycle Power coming in, and every event they're going to provide us with 3 LifePo 4 batteries to give away.
Oh, wow.
So just by showing up to the presentation, you can win an 8 amp hour, a 15 amp hour, or a 20 in year 1 with the club. I mean, that's pretty good, man. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Everybody that comes to the presentations gets paddle grips from Ganfind X. We'll have yellow and black. There'll be what's called the Tacanti Ink Bag. Michael Duran, the best shallow angler in the Upstate right now. Carolina, probably multiple states, if we're being honest. He puts together this awesome little goodie bag. So first, second, third place, they'll get a prize bag with the most practical, awesome little gifts you can get. A Squared is providing lures. 4-7 is providing lures to the winners. We're legitimately rolling. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be affordable. I'm only accepting kayaks. So, UKA, they do the bass pond hoppers and things. And I want to keep it a little more traditional than that. But again, you can be pedal, paddle, motor, as long as it's electric. I don't want to see no gas outboard motors out there. A taquito at 6 miles an hour will get you planning. I've seen it recently. It'll do great things. It's a club of freedom. Choose your ramp as long as it's public access. All the funds go back into the club or back to the angler. There's no kickback to me or anybody. Come cast, compete, and win some money, win some good-looking plaques. And take that home, man, because that's not something you see in a lot of clubs.
Oh, no, man. I'll be like Dusty Rose and Ric Flair. Woo!
Hey, I know that one. Yeah, so the 13-time world heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'll hold that butt
up like that, son. I'll be like, boom.
Hey, I took the most fun photos earlier with it, and it's almost irresistible not to want to put it on, but I can in good spirit do it. That has to be something only the AOI winner does. So whoever wins it, man, I hope I can talk him into cutting a promo on the spot. I want to be Mean Gene, and I want their best Randy Savage or Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah, man. Or Jimmy Fly Snooker.
Oh, man, yes. Back to the days.
Yeah, back back to the good old wrestling days, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we were sitting in a local watering hole. Me and my wife were earlier tonight, and the Pat McAfee show, man. It comes on, and she's like, "Man, that's a fool. He's an idiot." But he had, Pat McAfee had a little Showtime on WWE back in the day, and so he brought on Cody Rhodes. You know who Cody Rhodes is.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But yeah, she was like, "Man, why can't we go back to the old wrestling days? You had to wait till 11:30 after the news." And but yeah, yeah, I see a comment over here. Chris Cabral said, "Junkyard dog days." Man, he used to wear that big chain.
That was back around that hacksaw Jim Duggan era.
Yeah. Or the who were the assassin boys, the assassin. Yeah. So yeah, man, I think you got a great thing going up there, Travis, for sure. And by watching some of your social posts, and you got a lot of backing as far as sponsorships and people contributing to your club and things like that. I think that shows the support for the kayak industry as well.
I hope so, man. I like the sponsors we've got right now. I want to keep more. I'm trying to finesse one up in North Carolina that's an outfitter, but they're not budging yet. I'd love to get them on board because they're so respected, and that's what I want, man. Not everybody can get the Dakotas and lithium or amped hours in year one, but I can get the brands who care about us and give us big discounts and cool stuff. And the local guys, A Squared, 4-7 Lures, who are making great things. I'm so thrilled with the people who've come on, and it's exceeded my expectations, and it's so fun right now. I feel like I can't stop winning because all these sponsors are being so awesome to work with, man. I love it.
Well, it's called busting your ass as a TD. And when you get big clubs and big numbers anglers and clubs, and you have that many people, and you're a single man unit, and people ask where you need help, and you're like, you're kind of thinking, okay, let me tread water lightly, right? When I started SCG KBF, I started it out as just something small for just a handful of people. And then I held my first tournament. It was like 25 people showed up. I'm like, holy hell, what I get myself into? But I used to fish in the bass boat world, and when you're talking about 100, 150 people show up in a bass boat world at a ramp, that's a lot. That's a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's Green Pond Landing type stuff there.
That's like on the Bass Nation level. But I think overall you're doing a hell of a job.
Thank you.
By looking what you're posting, by what you're giving your people up there, and hopefully we can do a collab one day on a body of water and do a collab tournament and let everybody kind of double dip on things, man.
Totally. Because there's tons of things I want to do, right? Like I definitely want to do teams in year 2 as long as we sustain through, have an entire teams division, some collabs. Love to get you up here and fish some Lake Hartwell, man. Bring your entire club up, or any of the Savannah chains. Russell, I think, is the most underslept lake in South Carolina. Russell, it's a spot lake, but my God, are there some big bass in there, man?
For sure. Because I don't even know when the last time a Bassmaster Classic, or not even Bassmaster Classic, but a Bassmaster tournament has been held up on one of them lakes.
Hartwell for sure. Like I know they've had the high school, and I think we're 8-time Bassmaster holder. Like they've come and visited us like 8 times. But again, that's
Right.
where the green pond you drive by and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
So
you-
I'll tell you, go ahead. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. Go ahead.
No, just the Bassmaster High School Championship that came through last fall.
Yeah.
That was the best thing for my channel ever, man. Those high school kids watch YouTube. There were like 300 to 500 of them. I forget the exact number. I think it's closer to like 500 of them suckers. They were all watching Lake Hartwell YouTube videos, and it was the most ridiculous week of my channel ever. But when they launch from Green Pond, you can drive by there, and there'll be so many like green and red lights. The entire lake, all the way across, pretty much, will be like glowing with them. It's a spectacle.
Yeah. So that's where Brian Latimer held his ceremony at.
Oh yeah.
The first year of the Straight Up Fishing Classic. And I drove up in that place. I was like, well, hell, where's the ceremony at? I didn't realize that you had to drive around. There's like an amphitheater in that joke.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people do. I think if I remember from my research, because I did a video on the history of Hartwell once, that entire area was built around the Bassmaster coming in. So that entire amphitheater is designed there for it, featuring large crowds to come in and have it. But if you don't know, there's like restrooms and things back in there, man. It's real nice.
It is.
And then they also have the smaller ramp. But I'm going to tell everybody on here a secret. If you're in a kayak and you want to launch from Green Pond Landing, but you know it's a busy day out there, look up Jack's Landing. I put it on the map for Google. I named it that. It's literally right beside Green Pond, but nobody launches there. There's a lot of new construction going on, so I'm sure that's going to change.
Yeah.
But this is the most cool, quaint ramp for a kayak right beside Green Pond, Jack's Landing, and you'll launch right there. You can go north, south. You can go across, whatever you want. It's fantastic for kayakers.
So if you're looking at the main boat ramps, because there's like 4 to 6 boat ramps right there that go into that landing.
Yep.
So if you look to the right, there's a point that goes out and there's a bridge to your right there. So is it on that side or the other side?
It is. Yeah. If you look up to the bridge, it curls around a back in there.
Yeah.
And there's a tiny little ramp in there, but it's a good ramp, right? It doesn't fall off fast. It's not falling apart. It's not in risk. And there's plenty of bank there where you can pull your kayak along, and you could have, 20, 25 kayaks launch from there easily, and everybody have plenty of space to maneuver, even though it's a smaller ramp. But it's right up there, and just Jack's Landing. You'll love the ramp if you like Green Pond, but that traffic, it can be a bit much on a summer day.
Yeah.
Jack's is where you want to go to get to the same areas without the hassle.
All right, folks. There you go. You have the juice right from the man himself of Lake Hartwell.
That's a great area. So much around there to fish.
Yes, there is. I know the tournament was won right there on that bridge. So the young gentleman, I think he won it with like 87.5 inches that day.
That's a good bag.
So,
4 fish or 5? That's 5, right?
That's a 5 fish limit, and he caught them on a crawfish color lipless crankbait.
I don't doubt it. The lipless crankbait. I don't know. Like some guys know this. I know my buddy Michael Duran. He calls me on it. He'll tell people I'll live off of it. I haven't touched it in a long time. But a lipless crankbait on Hartwell, despite a lack of grass, is an absolute slayer. Everybody looks at lipless and like, oh, you rip that through grass. Dude, you can run that around riprap across rocky points, especially with it being so muddy right now, like a Sprola Ruku shad with the red and the gold because of the stain. It'll slay. If you can get one in chartreuse or white, it'll slay right now. The lipless crankbait on Hartwell is chef's kiss, and people don't throw it a lot on there. Right.
I think the biggest bass caught was on a dock that day, and Myron Williams, he's out of Brunswick. He was flipping a dock with a jig, and I think it caught a 24-inch largemouth off a dock.
I don't doubt it.
21 degrees, 21-degree air weather.
Ooh. Oh, that had to be the perfect dog, like right beside a point.
It must have some heat on that pole or something.
I'm telling you. But people always look at Hartwell and they think spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's big spots in there too, but man, there's big largemouth in there. And if you know how to catch largemouth and you know how they react and where they're at, you'll have no problem getting a big bag on Hartwell. So,
Oh yeah. So tell me a little something about Kiwi. Kiwi is a mountain lake.
Yeah.
My son, his wife's family has a cabin up there on Kiwi.
Right.
And he always telling me, I mean, you need to come to fish Kiwi. But that is a super clear lake, right?
It is. Kiwi is one of the clearest and cleanest lakes in the United States, period. And when you go up there, you know, Joe Cassie's got it beat on the clarity, but it's different on Kiwi. I can't even tell you a lot about Kiwi in the late spring to mid fall because it's almost unusable for me. It's very recreational built. It's very recreational based. Kiwi is one of those places where if you go out there night fishing on a kayak on the weekend and it's the summer, you can fully expect you're coming back with a stocked bar on the kayak because everybody's having a good time and partying on Kiwi. A lot of those are vacation homes, so
Yeah.
you don't get a lot of hassle fishing the docks. Most of my experience, like I said, fall through early spring on Kiwi, it's still fishing the same way. I can do it up shallow, but if I'm not finding them, Kiwi has what's called the hot spot at the dam. Just go to the dam, you'll find the fish, especially when it gets really cold. Anywhere around that area, you're going to find some fish at. But it's a beautiful lake, and it's not all clear either. Again, people will say it's a clear lake. You have to fish clear water. You can launch from Falls Landing, and you can go back up there into the creek name is escaping me now, but it's just north of Falls Landing. It gets really muddy in the back of that. And I've caught some trout in there on a Mega Bass Super Z crankbait, some rainbow trout because it comes in from Joe Cassidy. So Kiwi's one of the a lot of spots though. If spots make you sick on Hartwell, they're really going to get you on Kiwi, is what I would tell somebody.
Yeah, you know, I'm waiting for this first spotted bass to be caught out of the Savannah River down here.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I don't want them down here in the Savannah River because they'll get in any watershed then because that river floods a lot. But yeah, it's I like catching them, but they're not good for the ecosystem.
I'm seeing more pictures of these Alabama bass, you know, that variation of the spot. I think Doug, you know, we talked about earlier, he's had some photos of it, and I've seen a few pop up in areas where I don't like seeing even another breed of spots come in. I mean, I'm so used to seeing them now, it's one thing, but just knowing, hey, we're about to get another species of spots to infest, it's going to be even more small fish, you know.
Right. I want to take a second and thank everybody that's watching tonight, watching and listening and taking the time out of your day, your evening, especially with the things going around in the southeast here, on up to the little bit north of us. I'm not going to elaborate on everything, but I just want to say a prayer to have everybody say a prayer for everyone up there. So, but yeah, it's been a great night, Travis. I'm glad I got you on, and man, it's been really informational for me about Hartwell.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so when will your tournaments be up on Tourney X? Have you already started putting them on there, or have you reached out to Dwayne and kind of discussed things yet? Or
I've been set up as a TD. I've messaged with him. We made sure my access was in order. The only thing I'm waiting on is additional clubs in the area. One thing about South Carolina, not only do we have wonderful lakes to pick from, we have wonderful clubs to choose from. And there's 3 clubs in the Upstate that I don't care to compete with. I think a lot of their anglers are going to bleed over into mine. So SC Bass being the first one. You know, they put people in the state championship. Everybody wants to fish them. So when they release their schedule, QCKBF being another big one. A lot of guys fish here. There's no way I'm competing with them. They're starting to.
Is
do
that
what?
Vinny?
That's Vinny. Yeah,
with
and
Queen City.
they're starting. They're coming out of the Stone Age, man. They're allowing motors next year, and hey, more power to them. I'm so happy for them and their guys, and I'm sure Newport and Taquito right now are like Vinny's the man.
Oh yeah, he's. Oh yeah, hey, let's get on Vinny's sponsorship. That's
hey. They run a great club. They have great
does.
prizes, and I may not always like some things I see in other clubs, but you got to respect what he's built up over there, and
That's right.
the cash prizes he gives, the opportunities he gives. It's fantastic for him. And then, of course, my home club, UKA.
Yeah.
I definitely want to continue fishing with them and SC Bass into next year. But with SC Yak, I just want to schedule around them. I don't want the guys who fish those clubs to feel like they have to choose between us because, again, that community we mentioned, we're much smaller, and I'd rather them not show up to fish because they have too many events to choose from than not show up to fish because I made them choose between another club that we all love in the area. So
yeah, that's so yeah. What I'm waiting on is Steve Owens with Bassmaster Kayak Series. He also runs the Georgia Bass Nation and the Tennessee Bass Nation. But we're just waiting on them schedules to get released, and we'll have our schedule out, and maybe we can work out a date together to have a Hartwell or a Russell. I say let's go to Russell.
Yeah,
I think Russell would be a.
Oh yeah,
I think Russell would be a hammer.
Any opportunity I have to make people fall in love with Russell, I want to. My PBs come out of Russell. The best day fishing of my life came out of Russell. A 45-pound catfish for me came out of Russell. That lake oozes big fish if you find them.
Yeah.
Same with any lake, right?
That's right.
It may be infested with spots, but it's infested with some big old spots and some big bass too.
Right. I would, I've been trying to work this out with a lot of the grassroots clubs here in Georgia, and just trying to. I've got a whole notepad over here, just notes about how can we bring all the grassroots clubs together. Like maybe out of each club, send 6 of your top anglers to like a championship round.
Yeah, not necessarily because there's always gonna be like the state championships, right?
Yeah.
Georgia State Championship.
Yeah.
But you could totally have the club competition SmackDown or something, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of weird cheesy name, but hey, send your 5 best. I'll send my 5 best. Send your 5 best, and represent your club.
Or even I even thought about this, do a SEC showdown against states.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, you would hold centralize it where everybody won't have to drive 8 hours, kind of centralize it and say, okay, we're holding an SEC showdown of grassroots clubs, all the grassroots clubs in your best 10. And let's go fishing.
Yeah, I would love something like that.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be interested in trying to get some people in it.
So. Oh yeah, man, that might be something that we need to discuss off the air a little bit.
Yeah, and that reminds me, one thing I think people like about SCAC too, for the Angler of the Year, their very last event is what I call the AOI Fish Off. Anybody who signs up to be a member is eligible, but the lake is the lake of choice from whoever wins the belt. The Angler of the Year. Any lake off the schedule, he can pick which one he wants. That's where we're going to. These guys are fishing off in like a winner takes all tournament.
Oh wow!
So,
yeah, hell of an idea. Yeah. So yeah, man. Golly, it's been an hour, dude. It's been 1 hour since we've been running our traps here. But yeah, it's that's something we're going to discuss this thing offline, dude. We're going to, even if we have to send, even if we have to do it just between us and South Carolina to be in with.
Yeah, let's work it out, man. I mean, I've got some connections too, and we can try and pull something together and try and make something, because I know guys that love to compete, man.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, that I can reach out to like Upstate kayak anglers here in Georgia and Appalachian kayak anglers up in North Georgia, so we can definitely pull something together, I believe, and
I do too.
yeah, and run it. So yeah, man, golly, dude, it's been a pleasure talking with you. You know, we've talked a lot on Facebook Messenger, and finally nailed a date down where we get you on the show. Once again, folks, I'm gonna let him shout out his socials. Travis, just shout out where they can find you at, and where they can find your club at.
Yeah. So I would say if you really want to find me, YouTube's probably where I would tell you to look for me directly. Travis does kayak fishing. But if you're wanting SC Yak information, just look for the group SC Yak. It's I got to accept you. I'm just making sure we don't have a bunch of guys selling knives. You run a club, you know what that's about.
Yeah.
So I'll accept you, bring you into it, or just look for, Travis Foulks on Facebook, add me, and I'll get you going. I'm pretty much an open book. I think anybody that knows you will tell you I'll share or say anything regardless of what it is with you. All in the spirit of progressing our relationship in the sport of kayak bass fishing. I love it. And come compete with us. I've got some really cool trophies, man. These are not cheap. These are amazing. I've got some great sponsors, and come cast, compete. It's SC Yak. So
SC Yak.
Yep. It's named after my two favorite clubs, actually, if I don't mind sharing.
Yeah,
SC
man.
Bass and UKA being Yak Bassin. That's his name he goes by. And I'm like, well, what do I like about kayak fishing? These are the two clubs I'm kind of twisting into one, putting my spin on it. So SC for SC Bass, and the Yak actually comes from Yak Bass and my buddy Cam. So
Gotcha. So you have a website up too, right? scyak.com?
Yeah, scyak.com. You can go, you can check out our rules, our tentative schedule. The month is right for the lakes, but the date's subject to change. I got to get the other club schedule. There's a disclaimer. I've got the rules posted. The sponsors are posted along with discount codes. Like we get $30 off trolling motor batteries. It's only like $220 anyway, but you get another $30 off with a club code thanks to Watt Cycle Power. You can sign up for the AOI Big Bass of the Year. Pay right through the Squarespace. It's going to ask you to sign up just so you have a Squarespace account, and then you can pay the $20 fee to get in on AOI Big Bass of the Year. That's a 60-40 split. 60% of whatever you put in is going to AOI, 40% to Big Bass. So you win all that back if you win the pots.
Cool. There you have it, folks. There you have it. There you have the lowdown in the upstate South Carolina area. Hit him up. Blow up his YouTube.
Yeah.
He's got some good content on there as well. I've watched about half of them so far.
You're gonna see a chronicle. I mean, you can probably testify. The fish are like one or two small ones per video on the original, and now we're up to good fish or a dozen. There's criteria that has to be met now. So,
and talking about the YouTube stuff, YouTube is changing a lot of things, man. Yeah. They go into a hype button. They're beta testing it over in like the Midwest countries. But yeah, it's if y'all want to go watch some good videos on Lake Hartwell, go Travis Does Kayak Fishing. He has some not pretty good content, but some hell of a content on there about Hartwell, and he gives you the juice as well. So Travis, thank you. We're going to close out the show here. Just hang out with me for a few more minutes in the green room for me. I want to discuss some things behind the camera, if you don't mind.
No problem, brother.
But yeah, thank you for joining us. Hey, we're going to bring you back at probably mid-season next year, man. Mid-season of the kayak series.
Sounds good.
Get you back on and kind of see how things are going with you, and see who's in the contention to win that. Woo!
Yes.
That belt, baby.
I can't wait to see what the first one is, man. I'm so excited. Everything's a record this year, right? So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, man. I can't wait to see the guy doing the promo with the belt, baby.
It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have him cut one. It's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we're gonna close out this show, Travis. I'm gonna shoot you the green room, and we'll close this thing out and be right back with you, sir.
I appreciate it, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem, Travis. Hey, man. Good Lord, what some information that man has, right? Especially on Lake Hartwell. If you never fished Lake Hartwell, I would suggest you make the trip to Lake Hartwell. And it's a fun little lake to fish. But yeah, we would like to thank him for his time this afternoon and this evening. For all my Braves fans out there, it's a win or die situation tonight. We've got to win this one to go to Game 3 with the Padres. Game time is in about 15 minutes. So tune in to ESPN2 to cheer on your Braves. But yeah, man, I would like to thank everyone for watching, listening tonight on the Paddle and Fin Network, the Main Contained Fishing Podcast channel. Next week, we will have a pre-recorded show. I hadn't decided what we're going to have yet. But, yeah, we'll have a pre-recorded show next week. I might bring on some more anglers, reach out to them. Let's do a pre-recorded show. So, once again, thank y'all for listening. If you haven't, go over to like Travis's socials for me. And as always, people, as always, wear your PFD while you're on the water and fish on, folks.